Greetings and welcome back to Room 303, AP English in our Roberts text. We are in the poetry section and we are working with Robert Burns's Green Grow the Rashes, Oh. Now, of course, Burns, very important in Room 303 for us. We have LearnStrong.net already provided you with important biography about Burns. And, of course, we've explicated two of his most important poems, To a Mouse and To a Louse, as well as we've given a Harvard Classics lecture on the poetry and the songs of Burns. Here, we're going to see one of the earliest of the poem songs that Burns will have written. And, of course, we'll have some Scottish dialect as part of this one as well. We're going to listen and enjoy Dougie McLaren's treatment of this. He'll play and he'll even engage the audience in it. Let's go ahead on 683 and just read the poem together, and then we'll come back to talk about the beautiful simplicity of a poem like this.
There's a mud bouquet on every hand, and every hour that passes, oh, it signifies the worth, oh man, and 'twas nae for the lassies, oh. Green grow the rashes, oh, green grow the rashes, oh. The stars that e'er I spent were spent among the lassies. Oh, that's what we sing a bit louder, but green grow the rashes, oh, green grow the rashes, oh. The sweetest stars that e'er I spent were spent among the lassies. Oh. One may race, may riches chase, and riches still may fly them, oh. When at last they catch them fast, their hearts can ne'er enjoy them, oh. Green grow the rashes, oh, green grow the rashes, oh. The sweetest stars that e'er I spent were spent among the lassies, oh. Give me a canty hurricane, hands about my dearie, oh. Only cares and only men may all be topsail teary, oh. Green grow the rashes, oh, green grow the rashes, oh. The sweetest stars that e'er I spent were spent among the lassies, oh. There's blood bouquet on every hand, in every hour that passes, oh. It signifies the worth, oh man, and 'twas nae for the lassies, oh. Green grow the rashes, oh, green grow the rashes, oh. The sweetest stars that e'er I spent were spent among the lassies. You sing on your own time, go on. Green grow the rashes, oh, green grow the rashes, oh.
let's take a look now at the poem itself and pay attention especially to what's really being suggested here. Like most of Burns's poetry, and we said this in our other lectures, it's of course simply complicated, right? It begins very simple and it ends complicated. There are, of course, many who just love this as a song. We're going to look at it as a philosophic work, and in fact, a somewhat challenging philosophic work by the end of our brief treatment here. Notice we begin in stanza 1 with the question, what is really a man's life? And ultimately the answer is the amount of time that a man gets to spend with a woman or with any number of women, lasses, of course, the Scottish term for women, is going to define then how great a life one gets to live. In stanza 2, we're told that money is nothing compared to the joy of being with a woman. In stanza 3, a hug is the best thing. In stanza 4, we've got the insult, right? He says to those who are sober to so straight-laced, you might sneer at this, but you're really nothing but senseless asses. He says, the wisest men the world e'er saw, he dearly loved the lasses. Oh, in other words, you can't find an intelligent man who doesn't agree with me in some way. In the 5th and final stanza, nature gets involved in this game and swears the lovely dears her noblest work she classes. Her prentice hand she tried on man, and then she made the lasses. In other words, nature is far superior in the creation of the women instead of the men. Now, of course, in Burns's day, this was already a fairly controversial idea, because the assumption is, by, of course, Calvinists and the like, that God creates man first and then creates woman out of man. And, of course, Eve, the first woman, has all kinds of major screw-ups, and we've treated that in lectures elsewhere at LearnStrong.net. Of course, Milton's Paradise Lost immediately comes to mind, doesn't it? Of course, really quickly now at level 2A, the theme's messages here, obviously the most precious is that it's beautiful that we can have these relationships that we get to have, and nothing is greater than those relationships. Certainly not the quest of money and fame and all of that, right? At 2B, obviously it's a lovely song. The dialect, the Scottish dialect is beautiful as well. At 3A, we would say to a mouse and to a louse, obviously the other Burns poems that we've treated. And then finally, what are your thoughts about this? And to what degree do you see this as a somewhat controversial idea that in the end, women are in fact far superior to men in relationships? We think, of course, of Chaucer's Wife of Bath as maybe providing us with a similar sentiment. Yeah, I'll let you kind of debate this on your own. I hope you enjoyed the performance. Thank you.